Hi, I'm GREMORE from QUEERTY, and this is the Madonna Songbook Podcast.
And I'm host Giulio Mazzoleni. Come here and see us discuss the TikTok trend that's giving new life to Madonna's Erotica era song, Thief of Hearts. Now sit your ass down.
Bitch.
Welcome. This is a special episode of Madonna Songbook, the podcast about Madonna's music, her great songwriting, and producing talent. I'm your host, Giulio Mazzoleni, and this is the place to discover all the stories behind Madonna's music, just like on my book. Here it is. Inside, you can find 500 songs, released and under-released, analyzed and told in every detail possible. For more info, check my Instagram account, Madonna Songbook, and the link in bio. Now, the last episode of this podcast has had a huge response. I have to say I'm grateful and thrilled with how it's being received. And I've been in touch with Donna Delori, who was the guest on that episode. And I can tell you she was delighted. Thank you again. So if you like that, don't forget to take a moment to subscribe to this podcast. You'll be notified when new episodes come out. And by the way, stay tuned for more info on the next episode's special guest. Some of you like listening to this podcast, but if you want to also watch, you can find the video version on YouTube and Spotify. Now let's start today's episode. This is dedicated to one song in particular, but we'll explore the whole era it comes from. So without further ado, let's take a journey into Madonna's songbook, leave the chatter behind, and let the music take control. Okay, today we're talking of Thief of Hearts, the song from the Erotica album that Madonna released in 1992. Why is that? Because on TikTok, there's a trend that it's really doing really well, and it's about young people dancing to the techno breakdown of that song. And that has become such a strong wave that Madonna herself has just posted her own version of that reel. Now, that has meant a big increase in streaming numbers for Thief of Hearts, which is very, very good because you have to know that although Madonna's Erotica is one of her most celebrated albums nowadays, it is one of her least streaming albums. You want to know why? It's because the album, after an initial warm reception, suffered a huge backlash coming from the reaction of people against Madonna's sex book, which was released simultaneously with the album. So once again, it is great that it's getting new streaming numbers and new attention specifically related to the music and not what was the brouhaha around Madonna at that time. Let's go see what the background was before Madonna made this record. In 1991, Madonna was at the peak of her stardom. She was coming from Blonde Ambition, a revolutionary and extremely successful tour, with a lot of provocation in it. She had made a documentary while touring and being on the road, and she turned it into a very successful movie in theaters called Truth or Dare, again, with a lot of provocation. She had released her greatest hits album, and she had already had several hits to the point that the Immaculate Collection featured 15 hits and 2 new songs, but 15 wasn't the number of hits she had. And a lot of songs had to be left out, which is quite rare because a lot of artists release greatest hits compilation with fillers, as we all know. At the same time, Madonna was negotiating her new contract with Time Warner, which including expanding her creativity into launching a whole new record label called Maverick, the one that signed Candlebox and Alanis Morissette and brought Prodigy to America from Europe. So it was really a moment of huge creativity for Madonna, who was also interested into going into publishing. And that's why she accepted the invitation of Steven Meisel to make together a book of erotic photos. On the artistic point of view, Madonna developed a sensibility, what she called pushing people's buttons, or as she says nowadays, realizing that artists are here to disturb the peace. She really cared about provoking discussions in society, and she really used her art in order to bring subjects to the table. This is the state of mind that she was in when she started conceiving her 6th album, the soon to be called Erotica. Let's go see the making of that record. Part of Madonna's artistic maturation in 1991 was to take new challenges, and she boldly decided to drop her team of tight collaborators, Patrick Leonard and Stephen Bray, with whom she had made amazing hits in the 80s. Her intention was to keep her eye on music coming from the street and being fresh and being inspired herself. And that's why she decided to work with two new collaborators she had tested on single songs, Shep Pettibone and Tony Shimkin with Vogue, and Andre Betts with Justify My Love. These two mega hits from 1990 informed Madonna's mindset about the people she wanted to work with. Now, whereas Shep Pettibone was really experienced and accomplished as a remixer, he wasn't that accomplished as a composer and songwriter, and Andre Betts was really a novelty in the music industry at that time. This meant that Madonna had to be more heavily involved in the production and the composition of the songs, and you will know more about this in the next episode of Madonna Songbook podcast. The music that Madonna was listening at the time was the one that was at the top of the charts. New hip-hop beats, new R&B, new jack, a lot of house music, rap. There was a new wave that was brushing away the polished pop of the 80s, and that was the same direction Madonna decided to take. CNC and Music Factory, Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, these were the top sellers, but Madonna was listening to a lot of underground records as well, and she was interested in the underground culture too. She became interested in music that was more programmed and less played with real musicians, accessing a lot of samples and being creative in a new way that was also referencing the way she was making music with very few means back in the days when she was starting. From the songwriting point of view, she wrote songs that had longer verses, sometimes 3 rather than 2, more powerful hooks and choruses, breakdowns, taglines, her own background vocals, bridges, and a lot of inventions, especially with her voice, speaking into the microphone rather than singing, using her lower registers, singing higher pitched melodies. This was a whole new way for her to write songs, although it was heavily informed by her own experience, especially from the Like a Prayer album. She had learned to become more intimate and more exposed in her own feelings. And the album actually is called Erotica, but it has far less sex than you would expect. It is more about romance, and there's a lot of sadness and introspection, and more than seduction, it's about heartbreak. A lot of the songs say it per se. Bad Girl, Deeper and Deeper, Thief of Hearts, Bye Bye Baby, and Erotica were 5 of the songs that she has started working on with Shep Pettibone in October and November 1991. Around that time, she developed these demos, and the sound was really rough and raw. In sessions later on, in January and February 1992, she kept on working at Shep's house by keeping things very minimal, and finished the songs she composed in This Life, This Used to Be My Playground, Why Is It So Hard, and other titles, and then selected the songs she intended to bring to the recording studio. But by the end of February, early March, she had to interrupt to go and make the movie Body of Evidence. When she came back to New York in June 1992, she spent 2 to 3 months in the studio finishing the songs and recording, but decided to keep some of the original tracks from the lo-fi demos that they had made because she insisted on keeping a rawness and realness to the songs that she was recording. When the album came out in October 1992, the media storm that Madonna, Liz Rosenberg, and their team had organized had brought Erotica and the Sex Book to the attention of the whole world. It was incredible the way they put out magazine interviews, photo sessions, TV appearances in Europe, in North America, and recorded interviews for the rest of the world. But there was a big issue. The Sex Book initially subject of a big hype, brought the conversation to a peak when people started rejecting it. Madonna's decision to bring the sexual discourse to the table was something that in the 90s irritated a lot of people. First of all, because she was taking the narration away from men. Second of all, she was using her body. And a lot of women criticized Madonna, saying, if you use your body, you're not empowering women. This is a discourse that sounds really dated. But at the same time, back in the 90s, it became a point of breaking the big success that Madonna was thriving on and actually turning against her in a huge backlash. Now, the album had been received with very, very positive reviews from people who had listened to it before it came out. And that is really important to note, because contrary to initial plans, and I'm sure Madonna regretted this, the book came out shortly after the album was released. Initially, it was meant to come out 6 months later, but probably at Warner, they thought that a joint campaign might benefit both book and album. In truth, as soon as the book came out, it was a huge storm. Talking about sex and making money and having fun out of it was really a no-no. That's what Madonna said later on. And it's true. You have to consider that with the song Where Life Begins, which is about cunnilingus, oral sex on women, the questions that she was receiving were like, is this song about lesbians? And Madonna was answering, it's a no to oral sex in general. I don't understand why it should be about lesbians. The thing is that not having a penis in the discourse to some people meant that it wasn't about heterosexual sex at all. The situation was in a moment when Madonna was making such a broad discourse and also trying to bring a celebration of life and sex in a joyful way, when a whole generation was being told that sex was dangerous, that sex would kill you because AIDS would kill you. Now, Madonna, along with Elizabeth Taylor, was one of the earliest celebrity activists in the fight against AIDS, and she was sending out messages on the importance of prevention and safe sex, but she really wanted to remind everyone that sex could be a positive thing. You can easily imagine that with beautiful glossy pictures where she was exposing her body and this discourse, the situation and the controversy got inflammatory. And Madonna suffered, and her album suffered, huge criticism that weren't there before the book came out. For example, when the album came out, it immediately sold 2 million copies in America, then quickly fell off the radar. It did far better internationally in Australia, in South America, and especially in Europe, but mostly in the UK, where bizarrely the debate on tabloids was huge and shameful against Madonna, but the music won, and the songs were on the radio, and the singles were all top 10 hits. 34 years later, we can say that Erotica is celebrated as one of Madonna's best albums and has been considered an influence on artists like Beyoncé, Lady Gaga, Cardi B, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, even Janet Jackson, who in 1997 made The Velvet Rope, a concept album that was quite similar in the approach that Madonna had for Erotica. At that time, Madonna really suffered this backlash, and in retrospect, years later, she said that was her biggest artistic disappointment of her career, meaning that the attention that the album didn't properly get was the disappointment, not the album per se. By paradox, that album meant for us fans an artistic peak for Madonna, and she gave us, in 18 months, something like 7 singles, including This Used to Be My Playground, 6 videos, plus a live video. She performed on great TV shows, the MTV Awards, Arsenio Hall, Saturday Night Live with a band. She did amazing with her tour, The Girly Show, probably one of her biggest shows ever. And she gave us a lot of remixes. This is when her presence in the dance world was reinforced by the release of many, many remixes. We got remixes for Erotica, Deeper and Deeper, Bad Girl, Fever, Rain, Waiting, and Goodbye to Innocence, which was unreleased at the time, but we were giving a dub version that was 10 minutes long, the fantastic Shep Pettibone Up Down Sweet. Check it out. But we also got Thief of Hearts. So let's find out everything about that song. Okay, let me start by saying that I'm so happy this TikTok trend is giving new life to Thief of Hearts. Irony, vindication, campiness, techno, pop, club, underground. There's so much in that song. But what is it about? It's about the consequences of stealing a boyfriend, and Madonna gets very vindictive. I really believe that Madonna here is in character. It's incredible how in 3 verses, a chorus, a couple of breakdowns, Madonna really showcases her very angry, bitter, theatrical, fun approach to confronting a girlfriend who's stealing her boyfriend. And this scenario has inspired a lot of fans into asking themselves, who is this song about? Now, the gossip at the time was that the song might be about Annette Bening, who had just married Warren Beatty and had his first child. Other people were saying that the song was about Robin Wright, who had married Sean Penn and had his first child about 18 months after Madonna divorced Sean Penn. My opinion is that we shouldn't be looking at these ridiculous things. Why should any Madonna song be about A, herself in the first person, and B, someone that she had actually had an experience with? Also, I don't think neither Robin Wright or Annette Bening were ever Madonna's friends, and she's known of having left both Sean Penn and Warren Beatty herself. So it's not about stealing a boyfriend there. In fact, Madonna described the song to be for every woman I know that has been stolen of their man by a so-called friend. I think it's very dramatic and hysterical at the same time. When I write lyrics, I see a whole scenario. I see a movie in my head about the people I'm telling stories about. I do it in a theatrical way, and in this song, I could definitely see 2 girls fighting over a man. And of course, she might have been into that situation. She says, yes, I can be a jealous person. Jealousy comes from insecurity, and when I feel insecure, I get jealous. But what is important is that it's very relatable, and we can all associate with that, with the feeling of jealousy, with the feeling of anger towards someone else in a love relationship. And that's the beauty of Madonna's songwriting. So I think it's more important to look at her as a narrator, as a beautiful storyteller. Now, recently, I posted a quite popular reel on Instagram because coming from Madonna's recent Kabbalah video, she revealed that she had regretted chasing a married man and had made huge sacrifices for him moving to another country. I read into that an inspiration for the song Crazy from Madame X. And since I really love that song and I really believe it's a beautiful song, I thought it was beautiful to point out that she had taken a part of her own experience and turned something ugly into a beautiful song. And like Carrie Fisher used to say, take your broken heart, make it into art. I thought that was the beautiful point, but a lot of comments wasted time, in my opinion, on asking who was that man? And didn't she move to Lisbon for other reasons? And of course, she probably had several reasons for that. She was probably brief for the sake of what she was saying in that Kabbalah video. But I thought we should be looking at the art and not at the gossip and the tiny details. It's how you make the best out of a situation into a beautiful song, in my opinion. Some trivia: the song started as a quite hip-hop rough with DJ Scratch's song in the first production that can be heard on the demos that leaked online. And also, when Madonna brought it to the production stages, she probably had an insider's joke in the studio and added a few lines from The Weavers' If I Had a Hammer. Now, on that recording, again available online, you can hear changing the lyrics heavily and being very aggressive and verbally very strong and explicit in reworking that famous song. But obviously, this wasn't put in the album. I think it was an insider's joke for people in the team to listen to it, because she knows that she could have never have gotten permission from publishing for altering the Weavers' song like that. So in the end, the album came out with a more pop sound that is what we really like, but still kept that bit of underground club and techno production that made it so special, along with the beautiful vocal layers that she had put in it herself. But now we have someone joining the conversation on this beautiful song, Thief of Hearts. Joining me to discuss this amazing song, Thief of Hearts, is now GREMORE from the online magazine and community, QUEERTY. Hi!
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for suggesting that I did an episode on Thief of Hearts, and it's nice to meet you. We've never met before, and thank you so much for reaching out.
Yeah, I'm really excited and I just have to show it off. I have my book. I can't believe I'm talking to the
Ah!
author of the Madonna songbook. This is so exciting for me. Thank you for writing this book, by the way. It's incredible.
Thank you, Graham.
Yeah, I'm so happy that it exists. I think it's much needed and it will be around for a long time. I think people are going to love reading this book and revisiting this book.
How nice of you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I understand Thief of Hearts is a very special song to you. Why?
Oh my gosh, yes. Thief of Hearts is one of my all-time favorite Madonna songs. And I remember, so I first, when I first heard it, I was like, what is this song? I think I was listening to it on a tape, listening to Erotica, and that song came on, and it just immediately caught my attention because it was so over the top and campy and dramatic, but it was also just an awesome song. Like the music was just awesome. Everything about it just kind of like grabbed me. And I always wondered like, why wasn't this ever a single and why don't more people know this song? So the fact that it's thanks to TikTok it's being rediscovered, especially by like younger listeners, is really exciting. So I'm like, this is the moment. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life for people to finally recognize how brilliant People's Hearts is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there has been this big discussion. Actually, even in the past, people sending me messages. This should have been a single. And this is what I write in my book, the first line.
Yeah,
This should have been a
yeah,
single. But yet, like I said earlier, there had been 6 singles already on that album, and they were all good. So it's really like it's a big, big number. But it definitely should have been given a chance. Also, FYI, I was expecting it to be in the show, in the girly show, when she went on tour.
yeah.
But
I always wondered that too. Like, why hasn't she done it live? Because I think people would go crazy in a stadium if she started singing this song. I can only imagine what the energy in that room would become.
I think it comes from the fact that we all agree that it's a very cinematic, like you said, and melodramatic song. We all envision the scene. And Madonna, again, is a great storyteller, and she has this power, and therefore it would be easy for us to tell. But probably knowing the show that she put together, which is my favorite tour of hers, probably didn't fit in the narration. But speaking of narration, what is it so special about being campy and melodramatic? How does Madonna do it so well?
What the vibe I always got from this song was almost like because I think she recorded this in 90. What year was it? 91?
1, 1, 2.
Yeah, and like a year later is when she played Rebecca Carlson in Body of Evidence. And I almost felt like this is her channeling that character. Like I don't know if she was already working on that film or
Yeah.
not, but it definitely felt like she was entering that headspace of just kind of like the femme fatale, the angry, jilted lover who is on a vengeance. Um, and it's like she was tapping into that a little bit early, and she brought it into this song in such a really brilliant, I think campy, but very self-aware kind of way. Like she wasn't out of control at all. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was playing this part, and she played it brilliantly.
That's true. And actually, you're making a nice bridge. Actually, she had definitely read the script of Body of Evidence by the time was composing this song. And maybe she's looking at it from the perspective of the character of her lawyer's wife, Julianne Moore, who was Willem Dafoe's wife in the movie. So maybe it's like the revenge when she slaps her in the movie, which is the most famous scene nowadays. It's a nice take. But again, it's like probably Madonna taking this and that and so forth. What do you think about the gossip about whether she was writing about her ex's wives having children?
It's a fun, juicy story, and people love the gossip and the tea. Um, Personally, I don't know if that's true. It's always fun to think about those kind of things, but I don't know that it matters. I think that Madonna pulls inspiration from a lot of different places. Like, yes, she's pulled inspiration from her life many times, but she's also pulled inspiration from other artists and other songwriters. And I think she's even said at one point she pulled inspiration from a sign on a freeway. So
Yeah.
I think that well, it's fun to kind of like peddle in the gossip and think about these juicy celebrity stories. Um, Whether or not that's true, we don't know.
And we don't
So I guess
care,
that's my
probably.
take. It's
We don't
fun,
really
but
care.
no, it's fun, but yeah, I don't really care. I just love the song.
And I love, like you do, the fact that she has taken these multiple roles across her career. But this one about dissing someone, about fighting, especially with another woman, has been recurrent in her fantasy with other songs. For example, She's Not Me. Obviously, to
Uh,
me, it feels like Thief of Hearts Part 2 from the Hard Candy album. But then you suggested some other titles, and you made me realize that even without the girl on girl fight, Madonna is great at being confrontational with other people and even, sometimes even very aggressive in a cinematic way. Which other songs come to your mind?
yeah. So I do think obviously she's not me. To describe it as kind of the sequel to Thief of Hearts is exactly how I would describe it as well. It's got the same kind of camp factor and even the live, she did that one live, and I loved how she really elevated the humor there when she brought in the different versions of herself and kind of like kicked her own ass and was singing the song. It was very, I think she would say ironic, and I would agree. It was great. Um, but yeah, she's got a few diss tracks that I think some are more obvious and some are less obvious, but like I think the most obvious would be Human Nature, right? That was her big FU to the critics at the time, actually after Erotica. Um, and it was Madonna at her most unapologetic and
Yeah,
also had a really kind of campy, fun music video to go along with it. So it was like kind of serious, but she was also being playful. You could kind of read it both ways.
she's very smart.
Yes, it was, I think, a lot more thoughtful than people give it credit for.
Hmm.
Um, I think, you know, some of her later albums had quite a few diss tracks. The song I Don't Give a dot 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 from MDNA.
Right.
It's her angry divorce song. And she's definitely angry in that song. Um, and then after that, there was from Rebel Heart, Unapologetic Bitch, which I have to say, it has like one of my favorite Madonna moments of recent years, where she says, "You never really knew how much your selfish bullshit cost me. Well, you."
Yeah, that was
It's like
pretty good.
so aggressive and so perfect and so Madonna. Um, and then I think lastly, you're probably familiar with it. I haven't gotten to that chapter yet in your book, but it was with the Rebel Heart demos. There was that song Two Steps Behind Me that kind of leaked on the
Hmm.
internet. It was never released.
Yeah.
But that is also, I mean, that's like, if She's Not Me is a sequel to Thief of Hearts, I would say Two Steps Behind Me is the sequel to She's Not Me.
Part
It's
three.
very,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, I think it was rumored to be about Lady Gaga, but then Madonna's manager later said, no, it's not about Lady Gaga.
Again,
But
why do we need to pin a person for a song to be about? The one thing that is interesting is that Madonna always makes a point in asking us what that means, that song means to us. Even in an Australian interview for her Candy, she was being asked by this female journalist about Miles Away, if what it meant to her. And Madonna said it's about these relationships at distance. You work here, but you're Australian. Do you live that? Yeah, my husband in Australia. See, I wrote that song for you. She really went like she pushes the ball on the other side. And it's really interesting because we can all identify with these things if we want to. If we get into the game that she's playing, that's the fun part. For example, Gangbang. You know, who does that song really is about? I don't think anyone really wants to know what that song about because it's really strong.
Nobody wants that song to be about them.
Exactly. But it's fun to imagine that we are on the side of being so angry one day of singing that song and venting out. And even Bye Bye Baby from the same Erotica
Oh,
album
good
is a
point.
bit like that. And or if you want, some of the attitude of Sorry is about
Yes, sorry is
rejecting
another.
and being campy. But back
Yeah.
to Erotica, what do you think is the role of this record, of that album, in queer culture?
Oh, I mean, huge. I mean, obviously, I think it's pretty well known that that album came out during the peak of the HIV/AIDS crisis. She and a lot of it was a response to that, and she was at the time urging, particularly queer men, to practice safe sex and to be careful and to know about this terrible thing that was happening in their community. I think what it provided was that was a really dark time and a really horrible time for gay people, queer people. But it also provided really wonderful moments of celebration, really great dance songs, and an excuse to come together, come out, dance. You know, there's horrible things happening in the community. It's really sad. It's scary, but we can't. And I think this actually applies to what's going on today as well. We can't let those scary, horrible things take away all of our joy. We have to have those moments where we can also come together and just dance and be free and let loose. And I mean, Thief of Hearts is an example of giving people permission to do that, right? It gives people permission to be over the top and campy and slap each other and be tough. And Deeper is another one. It's just like a banger. Like, and there's so many songs on that album that I think allow those moments of escape for people that I think was much needed then and even now.
And I also think that somehow Madonna has inspired a whole generation of drag queen performances with these songs. But at the same time, as you were mentioning, she has also influenced dance music. Now, in the 90s, dance music was really, really important, not only in clubs, but outside. MTV was the biggest flag of that. And internationally, you started to have these beautiful remixes that were relaunching singles and giving them new life. It's not just about Madonna, even Bjork made great dance remixes from her less dancey records. What remains nowadays of the 90s dance music style?
In the past several years at this point, it's definitely had a renaissance. I think people are kind of rediscovering it and appreciating it in a new way, particularly I think younger music listeners are discovering 90s dance music and artists today are even replicating it. Um, and it lives on in a really fun, nostalgic, and exciting way. And I think what's actually particularly fun about Madonna is that she was at the center of 90s house music when it was being made, and she's still here today, able to celebrate it again with us. I mean, I love that going back to Thief of Hearts, she just posted on her Instagram page, Madonna 2026 looking amazing, kind of giving us a little mini music video to Thief of Hearts, kind of honoring the TikTok trend and honoring the song again, what, 30 some years later. So there's some music that I think kind of comes and goes and sometimes just stays away. But I love that 90s house music is actually come back and people are embracing it and blasting it again from their speakers and using it as inspiration in new music. It's one of my favorite genres, and so I'm just really I'm loving this moment. I'm loving these past few years, and I kind of want it to just continue. 90s house music forever.
Yeah, exactly. And probably it's why so many young kids are picking that techno breakdown from Thief of Hearts for their reels. They actually love how it sounds.
It it sounds good. Like it's dated because it's from the 90s, but it still sounds good. It still sounds fresh, and I think it's because the song was really fresh. I mean, it was very forward thinking even at the time. And I think another point that I want to make about the song that I think gets lost, but I think people are noticing it today is like it's easy to get distracted by the performance and the story and the campiness and the over the topness of Madonna in the song, the lyrics. It's a soap opera in a song, and it's easy to just focus on that. But when you actually strip away the the perform like the singing, the lyrics, the song, and just listen to the music. It is, I think, one of the best examples of 90s house music. It has a killer beat, it has a killer hook. It still sounds good today. I think it's really sophisticated and it's kind of operating on many different planes because of that. Like you can listen to it for its sophistication, or you can listen to it for its campiness and over the topness. And both ways are a fun and interesting way to experience the song.
That's beautiful. I totally agree. And I love that soap opera type of song definition. I really like it. I think
It is
you
a soap
got it in a
opera.
nutshell. You got it. You defined the song. But speaking of young people and knowing you're an editor at QUEERTY, which is really important and relevant, online magazine, but also like a presence and that gathers all these discourse about the queer community. What's your pulse on Madonna? How is she perceived by the young queer generations?
About a week ago, maybe I had a writer at QUEERTY cover Thief of Hearts and how it was trending again on TikTok and how these younger generations of listeners were discovering it for the first time and using it in their reels. And what was so interesting is it's a great writer, Carson Molnarek, um, excellent writer at QUEERTY, and he is
Love that piece. It was
yeah,
very
I'm
nice.
glad you read it. Yeah, he's Gen Z, so he's on the younger side. Um, which was so interesting because when I sent him that story and asked him to cover it, he was like, I'd never heard of this song before. I didn't know anything about this. This is great. And he was like converted to, I mean, he was already a Madonna fan, but now he is like a super fan of Erotica, a super fan of Thief of Hearts. He got it instantly and he thought it was campy. He thought it was a, an awesome song. He loved the videos people were um, producing, his own peers were producing. And so for me, it was kind of fun because I remember having that experience too of discovering that song for the first time. And to see somebody younger than me now discovering that song for the first time and having the same kind of reaction, I think it's a testament, again, to Madonna's timelessness and to her sort of forward thinkingness. I mean, we always say she was ahead of the curve, and she continues to always be ahead of the curve. What I've noticed with younger listeners as well is since they weren't around when Madonna was like releasing this for the first time, they don't know all the baggage. They don't know the criticisms that were lodged at her and the attacks and sort of what she had to go through at the time. They don't necessarily know that erotica was not well received by critics. But they don't know that. And so they're coming to it from like this fresh new space and just discovering it from a
Oh, that's
perspective of
wonderful.
yeah, of just experiencing the music and the art and not all
Personally.
the conversation around it.
That's something I think Madonna would wish for all the time in her life.
I agree. I think that today Madonna would be really excited that people are just kind of loving the art for what it is, love the music for what it is, and ignore all the other bullshit.
Well, let's hope we all get the new album like that. Just focusing on the beauty of the music that she will release. What's your anticipation about that?
Oh, I don't know. I can't even express how excited I am because it feels like we're gonna get it's like Madonna's not finished, right? Like she's never finished. I mean, she always says she's never finished. But if she wants to recreate Confessions, that's her. I feel like she's got to be in this really creative, inspired space. And I'm really excited to see whatever that is. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm excited.
Well, I love that perspective.
What if you're expecting something from Madonna, you're going to be disappointed. She's not going to give you what you expect. And that's her brand. She's not interested in giving you what people expect. She's interested in surprising you and poking
Always.
people and getting their attention and even provoking them and also in just having I think at this point she's just having fun. Like she just wants to have fun. I think that to me is what I've come to really appreciate most about Madonna is the fun factor and the escape factor. And like yes, the introspective stuff I also really love. But I think at the end of the day, it's like I just associate her music and her music videos and her concerts with so many joyful, happy moments in my life. And so that's what I hope, I guess, for Confessions is just give me some more joy and some happiness and some memories. And I'm glad that the party is still going. Like after all these years,
Yeah. And we all need a bit of partying and fun and making new memories. You said it right. That's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
And
So, thank you for this wonderful chat about Erotica, about Thief of Hearts, one of your favorite songs. It was lovely to meet you and have this conversation. To the listeners, I say stay tuned because I have to reveal who's the next guest on my podcast, and it's strictly related to the making of Erotica. So it all has a reason. Thank you, Graham. It's been great talking to you. Ciao.
yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really had a lot of fun.
Me too. So, what do you think of this new life that Thief of Hearts is having? Do you like the song in the first place? Do you think it should have been a single? Let me know. I do really like interacting with the followers, so please leave a message, leave a comment, send me DMs. I do my best to answer to all messages, especially on the streaming platforms. And one more thing. Again, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you get notified when new episodes come out, especially because the next one will feature a very special guest, a producer that has worked with Madonna on great songs and rarely speaks in public. It's Andre Betts, yes, from Justify My Love, The Beast Within, Secret Garden, and other songs. And he has a lot to share and a lot of stories to tell, including answering the question, did you do it? Okay, time to go now. Let's keep in touch. Let's keep talking of Madonna's music. I'm going to go play the whole Erotica album. Why don't you do that too? Let the music take control. Ciao.